Good morning, everyone. It's Bo Kitty from Reality Check Yourself here. This is a podcast around new ways of thinking, and I'm also a holistic business coach. So sometimes I talk about that stuff. But today it is a beautiful winter's day in Melbourne. It's one of those days where the air is full of ions and all the colours are very bright. It's very sunny. But obviously still cold. And today's podcast is all about social media. And not necessarily going to give you the best 5 tips for social media marketing right now, but I am going to go a bit deeper on the dichotomy of social media, the dynamic of it in our social fabric, and what this means for people trying to do marketing in this space. Because social media has been around since, 2006, 2007 was when Facebook landed on the scene. And so there is a generation of us who experienced the world without it and who grew up without it. And the next generation have been born, with their baby photos being shared online. So we're in a big transition time, and what prompted this was that I have a dear friend named Felix. He runs a YouTube channel called This Is Not Art, if you want to check him out. And he did a video, he's in Hanoi at the moment in Vietnam, and he did a video yesterday, a 20-minute YouTube video. And I watched the whole thing, and I watched it as soon as I woke up yesterday. And Felix is such a great thinker. He's got an incredible mind, and he's got a very beautiful way of articulating things in just this way that are really magical and really understandable. Anyway, he was talking about social media and being in Hanoi and, watching these people in the rice fields living, by all means, a very sort of humble and traditional life. And then all of a sudden he'd hear the ping of Messenger and they'd pop out their phone and start tapping away. Now, he wasn't criticizing people for doing that. I mean, we do that everywhere. But I think it was just a big wake-up call for him as to how he uses those platforms. And so he decided that he's going to stay on Instagram because he's actually a visual artist, and he's going to give up Facebook and Twitter. Now, for me personally, I've always hated Twitter. I feel like it's a playground where you're only allowed 100 whatever characters, and that's not really good for me. So I've never really been on Twitter. But it was interesting because lately I've just become so disillusioned with Instagram. All it seems to be is these sort of virtue signaling photos and not much discussion. And I'm on social media for a lot of the conversation. So where Felix is going to feel more comfortable staying on Insta, I'm probably going to be more comfortable on Facebook because that's where I have lots of discussions. But anyway, as soon as I watched this video of his 20 minutes long, I deleted my apps off the phone, which he dared the viewer to do. So it's been 24 hours now. It's been 24 hours of no Facebook app on the phone. And it's so interesting. Like, even without the app, I have still had Messenger messages that I've had to respond to. And I have also I was given a new cover photo for my business page. And so I quickly logged on the desktop to just pop it up yesterday. But it was interesting, the number of times I reached for the app, literally not to check anything, but because there was a space in my reality, and so I thought that would fill the gap. And I think the most powerful thing that Felix said, and this is what resonated with me, and this is why I deleted it all, and I've deleted it for the week, by the way, so I am making this podcast and I may share it, but I am not going to have the app on my phone this week. It's a beautiful winter week. I do not have loads of work on that I need to be promoting and talking about. And I was just like, you just test yourself, Bo. So, so I forgot where I was going with that. But, so deleted the app. Oh, that's right. The thing that Felix said that really got me was that the entire commodity, the entire currency of social media, all social media, none of them are any better than the other, by the way, but the entire currency of it is your attention. And that really struck a chord with me because I was thinking, our attention, the human's choice of what to focus on, is just such a gamut and such a spectrum that, we used to have philosophers who were, acknowledged to be people that sat around and thought about the deeper things of life. And I just thought, imagine if the whole world was basically just focused on, essentially this sort of digital slot machine. It's just a supreme waste of energy, I feel. And so I was thinking about my attention, my personal attention, and I was like, wow, I've got an incredible brain, an inquisitive mind, and when I turn my attention to something, such as, researching something new, or, what I call going deep on something, I really go there. I learn a lot, and I am very quick to get to great information, great conclusions, great discussions, great debate around something new I'm interested in. However, I was just sort of thinking, how often has that been distracted? How often has that been diverted because of some shit I've seen on social media that then takes me on another rabbit hole or whatever? And I think this is really interesting because I do believe, and I say this to a lot of my clients, social media has changed the way we digest information. So we used to talk about your 5 minutes of fame. I think was it Andy Warhol? Was it 2 minutes? I can't remember. 5, 10, 2 minutes, something like that of fame. And that was your time to shine on media or whatever it was. The spotlight was going to be on you for a few minutes. And what I think now, and this is what's so interesting, is when we started sort of marketing on social media a bit over a decade ago, we used to say 30 seconds. You've only got 30 seconds to grab their attention. Now, skip forward a decade, and my line at the moment is, you have 3 seconds. Now, that sounds a bit ridiculous, but think about the Facebook feed. It is literally 3 seconds for you to scan what is on your phone screen in that section of feed before you scroll. So you have 3 seconds to grab the viewer's attention. Now, I watched a really interesting show the other day. I can't remember what it was, but it was a doco on technology, and they had an interview with a guy who developed the endless scroll. So he made the endless scroll that Facebook and Instagram and all these sites now use. And, this guy was devastated. He had his head in his hands, and he was like, if I had known, at the time it just seemed like, yeah, we're tweaking the technology, and look at these new cool things we can do with it. And he said that basically he gave them a vehicle to make these platforms addictive. And he regrets designing this technology. He wishes he hadn't coded that particular function because now he sees everyone around him using it. So it's interesting because in my community in Australia, I find a lot of people have vehement hatred towards social media. The common lines that you hear are, oh, I'm only on it because of work, and oh, I wish I could just get someone else to do it, and all this kind of stuff. And I find that so interesting because getting someone else to do it, it's like the whole point. Look, I know we've strayed a long way from the point of what Facebook was originally intended for. And don't get me wrong, I am mainly going to be talking about Facebook stuff here because that's mainly where I hang out. But, I'm a 40-year-old white woman, which is the perfect demographic for a Facebook page. And let's face it, we're pretty aware of what the other platforms, who they are. Instagram is primarily images, and it's just as big globally as Facebook pretty much. Snapchat is for a younger demographic, and everything disappears rather quickly, but also marketers are really getting into that space and doing stuff with it. Pinterest still used primarily by 25 to 35-year-old stay-at-home mums, and other people in design, fashion industries. So over time they haven't really changed that much. Tumblr used to be a really fantastic platform because it was uncensored, and so a lot could be said and done there. Recently they started censoring it, and I know their user number dropped off considerably. So, I think over time as well, they go with different trends. But so even though I'm mainly talking about Facebook, don't be fooled. They're all very similar, and some of them have more insipid sort of qualities than others, you know. So yeah, I have this theory about brands who market in the social space. And it's this. So when we all started out, it was all about, oh yay, let's all find our friends. So we all found our friends. And then they brought in fan pages. And fan pages were about gathering people with like-minded interests who wanted to hear from your brand or your group or your organization. So my theory is they got us all comfortable in the Facebook space, in social media. They got us all comfortable with our little friend communities and got us to gather all of our friends in one place. And then they started bringing in paid advertising. Now, this was always going to be tricky because social media is a social space. And I drill this into my clients are mostly creatives. They are mostly, incredible individuals doing something creatively related. So if it's not, straight up graphic design or art or performance, then they are a healer or they are, doing amazing stuff in environment or whatever. So these are people who, already we would think have, an interesting way to present what they believe, who they are, that type of thing. And you would be surprised how many people come at social media from a very corporate angle, these creatives. They literally just buy some $17 social media course online and they just follow the prompts. But the problem is there is just no authenticity there. And I know this is a word that is bandied around, especially on social media, a lot. But you could see straight through these people's posts. And they are through all industries, all ages, all demographics, and all over the world. It's not limited to one industry. One industry which I particularly love to watch because of its relevance to me are the other people doing any kind of coaching. And this is one industry where I feel like this authenticity and this vulnerability really walks a fine line and often can end up more cringeworthy than actually useful. More on that later. But yeah, so they get us all in this space, they get us to collect all of our fans, and they get us to start paying to speak to them. So they stopped showing organic, your organic feed. And we've known this for a while. We know about the algorithms. Everyone talks about the, mysterious algorithms that, mess up everything that's happening and only show you your friends' stuff and only show you the stuff that you want to see and all of that. And, this is the problem why there actually isn't a social media marketer on the planet who can guarantee you conversion results. Because they're constantly changing everything in the back end of this platform. And the others are the same. Ad metrics and just tweaking the analytics and subtle little changes. I mean, do you remember in like 2007 to 2010 when we all first adopted Facebook? And remember when they would roll something new out and they would like take you on a little journey to like tell you what they just rolled out and like smooth it all over for you and make sure you felt really comfortable and nice. Yeah, they did that to lull us into a false sense of security. And now they just change shit all the time. They add things that we really don't want. I mean, personally, I hate the whole story thing. I don't go to Facebook for some throwaway, shitty-looking 5-second video. If I wanted to do that, I'd go on Snapchat. I also absolutely hate the marketplace. I mean, it's a good idea to have a marketplace there, but I've only ever had bad experiences on there, and the system seems clunky. You mark things as sold, they don't appear sold. And so it's like, we understand that Facebook is trying to bring in Snapchat to its app, trying to bring in Gumtree and Craigslist to its app. But all of this is designed to keep our attention on that app. All of it is designed so that we don't skip off and go to Gumtree and look for something we're actually looking for, or skip off and go to YouTube to actually watch 20-minute videos that have some, proper content. It's all designed to keep us there. So, I'm a big believer in using these tools and not letting them use us. And I constantly ask, pose, and entertain very controversial topics on my Facebook wall because I consider myself an anthropologist. What's so interesting is over the years, people have really got angry at me for putting my opinion on my own wall because they think that I'm stating a fact. That's interesting, isn't it? Like, for people who have an opinion, all of us, your opinion is a fact to you. But, even though you can be secure in that, you can be quite sure when you know that it could be wrong and you're still going to believe it. So, these days I've started posting fact, ... and then writing the thing if it's a fact, because it's not always just my opinion. Sometimes these are scientific things, sometimes these are collective consciousness things. But anyway, it's been very interesting to use that tool as a platform for really interesting discussion. And I'm well aware that cat memes will never lose their place. I'm well aware that, unfortunately what we see at the moment though is the cat memes and the food photos that were so lovely and innocent in the mid-2000s. They've now turned into this constant resharing and regurgitation of articles, and yes, there's bunny ears around articles, and Felix used them when he was talking about this as well, because these are not journalistic articles. Some of these articles are even just written by Twitter bots who go around the internet and look for things getting great engagement and sort of, spread them like wildfire virally. So it's kind of like we're just being bombarded all the time right now with information that it's not real and it's not about us. And this is one problem I have. I used to be quite political on the internet, and I realized that, there's definitely a burnout rate, and I'm always very conscious of my feed not being too one or two dimensional. You know what I mean? The people who only ever post about going to the gym. Only ever. That's all they use it for. That's boring. I don't mind if you post about the gym now and then because you're on a health kick, but I don't want you to be a one-dimensional human. I also don't want to see days and days and days of outrage about whatever some president is doing or whatever is going on here, blah, blah, blah. I would much rather read a 4-paragraph post about how you feel about this outrage, about how this outrage will affect your family, rather than just this constant, vapid reshare of clickbait articles. And I can sort of tell that when people aren't in a good space in themselves, they reshare clickbait articles because it's easier than delving into your own feelings and your own opinions, And this is the thing. That vulnerability I mentioned before, that authenticity that gets you, real traction on socials, it's a tricky balance. There's a fine line between oversharing and, what I call committing harikiri on the internet, which is the Japanese samurai form of suicide where they get a samurai sword and basically gut themselves. Because look, honestly, in my last 12 years or whatever of social media, I have totally done that. I've committed harikiri a number of times. Every single one of us knows what post anxiety is like. So you put a post up and then a few minutes later you're like, oh, I don't know if I should have said that, or I don't know if I should have done that. That sort of doubt is really unhealthy, and really a waste of energy. And this is what I was also going to get towards, is that people with businesses, they honestly think that social media is the magic bullet. They're like, oh, I just need to be on socials and it needs to be doing all the thing, and I need to be blogging, I need to be this. And some of these businesses, they haven't even got their core ethics and offerings down for people to see. They are so far ahead of themselves that it's a cart before the horse type situation. So I often have clients who come to me and say, I need you to do my social media. I don't have time. And what they don't realize is that like the best content comes from you about whatever it is that you do. So you run a hospital, the best content is happening in the walls of that hospital every day. It's not some third party, lofty academic articles about hospitals that are going to get you that engagement. Everyone on social media is looking for a human connection. Get that in your head. They're looking for human connection. That is what that constant attention we give it is looking to find. And this is where businesses are going wrong. You keep making shit memes out of stock photos and hashtagging the shit out of them on Facebook, and I'm going to unfollow you because that is boring as batshit. And we can go and find 1 billion businesses on every platform that are doing that. What we aren't getting is putting your money where your mouth is, leading by example, telling us your triumphs, your fears, your discoveries, your woes, letting us in on who you are as a person and why you are doing what you are doing. And I don't mean the sales talk. This is the thing, you have got to get rid of the sales talk on Facebook. I mean, I don't know if it works for these people. Come and join my $6,000 email course. Does anyone seriously pay $6,000 for a bunch of automated emails to their inbox? I mean, maybe it's just my learning method, but there is no way in hell I would pay $6,000 to have someone's course, again, quotation marks, turn up in my inbox every day. And, I'm just pulling an arbitrary number and an example out here, but this shit is being sold all the time online. And I know a lot of people who sign up to these courses and who never do them. They never even do them. So there's some other psychology going on there as well. Last night, I don't know what was going on yesterday. No social media. I got heaps done. I even got out in the garden in my winter woolies and planted some things. And then I just couldn't get to sleep last night. I went to bed at, I think, 12:30. Got up at 1:30. Couldn't sleep. Watched another episode of something. Went to bed at 3:30. Finally slept till 10:30. But one of the things that was going through my mind is, you have all of this mental energy, so use it. And I was thinking about this podcast. I was thinking about all the things that Felix said in his video. And I guess I just realized that even just in 24 hours of putting down the main platform that I hang out on, there is a quietness in the chatter. There is just a slight bit more presence of mind. This is in 24 hours. Sometimes I feel like I have to wrench myself away from the conversations on social media so that I can do the things that I need to do, such as cook dinner. Now, then, I don't know, it's crazy. It's like I'll be cooking dinner, I'm stirring the pot, and I live by myself, so there's often music on or whatever. I don't really put TV on in the background, but there's often music on. And it's funny because I'll sit down with this dinner and there's this like little moment of glee where I remember that I'm not alone. And actually there is a couple of thousand people and maybe a few notifications waiting for me on Facebook. And so I grab my phone and I sit down at dinner and I go there. And I don't know, I always notice this when I travel, You go travel and you see amazing things and you cram so much into one day. And then you go and you scroll on Facebook at night and you're like, wow, so Trump's still an asshole? It is literally like, there is nothing here. There might be every day, there's 1 or 2 posts from someone awesome doing something pretty amazing. But, and I'd say that I know them. I know them on Facebook. But that doesn't mean I really know them. I think it's just really important to have or try and cultivate a healthy relationship with these things. And just like other addictions, like alcohol, tobacco, drugs, or whatever, everyone is different. So the fact that Twitter and Snapchat have never been in my life is great for me, but Facebook is the one that I have a problem with. Same thing where, I just decided to switch it all off, and I'm going to do that for the rest of the week. But some people can't do that, and maybe they just need to have, I was thinking the other day on, day off might be a healthy way to go. So you have one day where you're allowed to scroll and post, and the next day where you don't, and you delete the app. I just think that, humans are early adopters. We love to go in and work out how we can make this new technology work for us. And we're good at it. We're really good at it. We've got these monkey brains on crack, and we're really good at learning these tools. The problem is these tools are becoming AI and they're learning us. Everyone's talked about the terrifying effect of talking about something and then seeing it advertised to them on Facebook. I've got a good one of these that happened to me the other day. This one freaked me out. Okay, so I'm in the mall. I went to the mall to get specific items, but as usual, when you're at the mall, your eye gets taken by pretty things. So I wandered into Peter Alexander, which is like a really bougie pajama shop here in Australia. And I was just having a browse. I certainly wasn't in the market for any pajamas. I wasn't with anyone, so I was completely silent. And I walked up to these pajamas that had a really cool print and really soft fabric, and I'm all about touch, so I was touching the fabric. Anyways, I'm touching these pajamas, appreciating the print, flicked over the price tag, went, oh yeah, whatever, didn't say any of this out loud, and walked out. The whole thing took maybe 30 seconds, not even. So I get home and I open up Facebook, and not only is there an ad for Peter Alexander, the exact same pajamas are in the ad. Now that freaked me out because it's like, I didn't say anything. I didn't click anything. All I did was with my hand touch the fabric. So then I was like, okay, is there some sort of proximity thing going on? Like I walk into the shop and it triggers. And then I was like, hang on a minute though, how do they know that I was touching those pajamas? Is there a chip in the barcode now? Are the barcodes linked somehow so that it sees that I am 1 foot away from this particular print? So I'm obviously looking at it, and then it remarkets to me. So anyway, I don't have the answers to how all of this happened, but this was a couple of weeks ago, and I was shocked. In fact, it made me extremely adamant that I will never buy those pajamas, which, is the opposite effect that they were going for. But, I'm in marketing, so I do question all of this marketing stuff a lot. I find it interesting when some of my older school sort of friends talk about how marketing is the devil and advertising is evil. And, Bill Hicks, who's one of my favorite comedians in the whole world, agrees with him. He used to say that as well. He used to take his big gun out and just shoot them all. On stage, that is, fake. But I don't agree. I do agree for the most part. It's like any generalization you'd like to make about a demographic or a part of society. The generalization is mostly true, right? But I truly do believe that there are opportunities for greatness and for realness with these methods, on these platforms, with these tools. And I guess that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to use them differently. And this is why I'm actually a lot less fazed being off social media this week than I thought I would be. I'm actually, every time I grab my phone and I realize I can't actually switch on or whatever, I realize that I'm really excited about that because there's another thing that I can now achieve in reality. It's almost like my attention is getting a new lease on life or something. Yeah, it's really, really interesting. So Felix set 2 challenges at the end of his YouTube video. One was to switch it off right now and go for 24, 48 hours. And could you do it? And I think you've really got to just admit which one you are the most addicted to and start there. Because here's the other thing. I did scroll Instagram a couple of times yesterday, but I'm just not interested. I have a business page there, and I follow people that I don't even know, and it's just not the authentic experience that being on Facebook is for me. It just doesn't grab me. So I'm there for like a minute, 2 minutes. I like a couple things, and then I'm off. I'm not addicted. I'm not there, you know. And the other thing that I thought that he said to do that was quite funny was he said that for the next few days, as you're going around in the world, imagine that everyone with a smartphone is actually holding a crack pipe or a syringe or something that symbolizes highly addictive drugs. And you know what? I've been doing that a little bit, like subconsciously, since he said it. And wow, I mean, there are a lot, even just the couples who go out to a fancy restaurant and they don't just check their phones, they are on their phones. They are having conversations with other people while they wait for their food. And it's sort of like, so see how the attention thing is? They're focusing their attention on someone else, on a phone, on an app or somewhere. And the only time when their attention comes back to their partner is when the food comes out. So the food comes out and they're like, okay, phone's down, let's eat. Now, the actual act of eating doesn't take very long. It's like, 5 to 20 minutes, really, eating a meal. It can't really go much longer unless you're waxing a hell of a lot of lyrical and drinking a hell of a lot of wine. So I just found it interesting that we've got to this point where our attention is only allowed to return to the present moment for really brief times. So also, how about driving? So driving, we know, is very dangerous. Be on your phone, texting, even more dangerous, scrolling on social media. I won't say I've never done it. I have done it. And there's been times when I've been completely shocked that I'm doing it and gone, you're getting a wake-up call right now, sister. So yeah, there are really handy functions that you can put on your phone that are like, you cannot use this phone while driving. So I'd suggest you look into it. I think they're in settings, well-being. It depends what kind of phone you have. But the other day I texted one of my clients while I was a passenger in a car, and his phone sent me back a reminder going, you should not be texting while you are driving, which I thought that was really interesting because it was his phone policing my use, you know, even though I was a passenger at the time, not driving. So I just think, back to attention. So you're in the car, you're driving for half an hour, your attention is focused on the road. Your attention is focused on the other drivers, it's focused on the weather, it's focused on the land and all of that nice stuff. So I think we really need to just take note. So on top of what homework Felix set, I'd like to set the homework that everyone just keeps a record of how much time your attention is distracted from the present reality. So, notice when your phone is completely down and away, what are you doing? I've got a funny story now. Basically, I live alone, so I scroll a fair bit. And a few years ago, one of my darling friends, who I chat to on Facebook quite a lot, she tried to call me, and I didn't answer, and she tried to call again, and she called 3 times, and then I saw the phone was ringing, and I picked up the phone. I was like, oh no, is everything okay? And she said, yes, I'm just checking on you because you haven't been active online for 12 hours. Well, I pissed myself laughing. I was like, babe, I've been having sex. And I'd met a nice new guy, and we were bunkered down. It was on the weekend. We'd had a really nice dinner together, and we'd spent the night in bed. And most of the next morning as well. And I found it just so interesting that it was like, yeah, what things do you do for 12 hours where you just are completely disassociated from your phone? And obviously sex, unless you're taking photos of yourself doing it or whatever, is probably one of them, So that was interesting. The whole message etiquette, it's still sort of mostly that you get emails during business hours, right? Why is it okay to use Messenger to ping people at 3 a.m. with, hey, how you doing? It's like, it's fucking 3 a.m, mate. What are you doing? And also just that sort of immediacy. Like, I don't know about everyone out there listening, but when you see a message on Messenger, there's like this niggling anxiety until you respond, because they know you've seen it. That same niggling anxiety is not with emails, because the email comes and it's kind of understood that you're not going to get an instant reply to an email. You're probably going to get a reply in the next day. You'll definitely get a reply in the next week if they're going to reply. And, if they don't ever reply, you're like, oh, did you miss my email? And you give them the benefit of the doubt. On Messenger, we don't have any of that. It is literally the minute it is sent, there is an intrusion into your personal reality, your life, if your notifications are on, which mine are. It goes ping, and you're brought back to the phone, and they see instantly that you've seen it, and then there's kind of almost a ticking time bomb of when you will respond. And I think it's a dangerous way to communicate, is primarily on chat, and in this sort of format. I think that we're missing the nuance of human conversation. We're missing eye contact. We're missing body language. We're missing intimacy. Now, that is what it's really missing. And even these super vulnerable posts that people put up, including me, sometimes it's still lacking. It's still a veneer. It's still a story that we're telling people. It's not always real. So one thing I've started doing lately to combat that is I've started video chatting people. So when someone starts chatting to me on Messenger, I'm like, do you want a video chat? And, this isn't just with my good friends who I usually, hang out with in our pajamas, so we've seen each other in all regards. Like, I video chat with a lot of people. And it is so amazing to what you can achieve in a 5 to 10 minute video chat over half an hour to an hour of texting. It's just totally different. What I don't really like is the whole voice recording message thing, because it needs to play audio for me to listen to your message. So a text can be answered on the sly, but personally, a voice recording, it's also a bit intrusive, especially the people that send 8 in a row. And sorry if you do that, but when I see 8 voice messages come through, I get a bit intimidated. I've got to go somewhere private to listen to them, because I don't often have headphones on my phone. So anyway, these are just some of the intricacies that I've been noticing lately with, the fact that we're stepping into the second decade, basically. We're in the second decade of social media in the world. And it's changed so much. It's changed so much. But I just really think it is about using that tool. Lately I've been posting using a scheduling app on my business pages, and, I've also been spending money on advertising. And, I'll be honest, my engagement's gone way up. My fan page went from 1,500 people to 7,500 people in a few months. But has that converted to more clients? Not necessarily. Has any of that advertising spend made itself back in ROI, in direct clicks, in direct conversions from my website? Not really, no. Why? Because this is not a finite science. And because what I do is already trippy and weird. I'm not selling t-shirts on drop shipping. I'm not selling Metallica t-shirts. A Metallica t-shirt is an easy sell. It is what it is. It is a t-shirt with a logo on it or a design on it. And there are sizes, and you know that when you turn up, you're going to wear it. All of those levels of engagement are very obvious. Also, it's $7.95. It's not a big investment. You do no personal risk apart from that $8 to get it. Whereas what I do requires personal investment, personal accountability, honesty, bravery. It requires a hell of a lot of things that most things on social media are not asking us to do. And I think there's a problem in that. Why aren't we asking people to be real and be vulnerable and be brave? Why are we accepting these clickbait outrage articles as the new news? That is not news. Neither are the 5 news channels worldwide controlled by the same bunch of old white men either. You know, like, this is the thing. We have the opportunity with social media to have more channels for free media. Like, it's never going to be uncensored. But we, you know, remember a few years ago when the live video thing came out and that girl in America live video recorded her boyfriend being shot by a cop? They were a black couple, you know, and racially profiled, and she live video fed it, and suddenly it's being watched and shared all over the world. Now, Facebook got scared about that, but I thought, this is fucking awesome. Here is proper accountability. Here is accountability on a global scale. Like, that actually really excited me. And it was like, I would rather see real footage of real atrocities happening to real people than all of this clickbait crap that's not even possibly true and is so written with an agenda. You know, I don't care whether it's pushing the left or the right. They are written with a bias. And, you know, when you watch a live video of something happening, you form your own bias. You can make your own judgment from from what is presented to you there. Yeah, so to sum up, social media, so much potential for good, and also so much potential for distraction and for envy and for pointless, baseless semantic arguing on the internet with people who essentially agree with you. So I guess my main advice for navigating this area is don't be boring and don't be addicted. So if you're a business marketing in that space and all you're doing is the same shit, if you're a business and you have some fan base, over a couple of hundred people, and the majority of your posts are getting no traction, no likes, no comments, you are doing it wrong, okay? You can absolutely, I don't care what your business is. I don't care. Whatever your business is, whoever you are, there is a way to do great engaging content, get people listening to you on social media, if you are interested. If you're not, and you just want the added legitimacy of having a Facebook fan page, then go ahead, reshare all the stock photos that you want. But I'll tell you, you are not going to get more likes, you are not going to get anything viral, and it's not really going to back up what you're doing in other places on the web. The other piece of advice I have is social media is just one area of marketing. Everyone is forgetting that there is a real world out here with real people in it that want to hear from you. So think outside the online box. It's only one aspect. Personally, I'm really enjoying these few days off, and Melbourne has turned on some beautiful winter sunny weather for it. So yeah, I'll probably share this on a social media channel to explain why I'm off this week. It may get no listens. It may get 1,000. I've got no idea. This is the beauty of social media as well. We just don't know what can go viral and what falls flat until we start tweaking in that space. All right, everyone. Well, this has been episode 3 of Reality Check Yourself. I'm Bo Kitty. And if you want to, please share this episode, spread it around, follow, listen, do all the podcasty things so that I get motivated to keep doing these and keep spreading the love. My website is www.checkyourself.com.au, and yeah, there is a whole lot more information there about what I do. Just to finish, I believe you can do your social media marketing on your smartphone in an hour a week. And anyone who tells you that you can't do that and you just spend lots of money to other people to do it is selling you a lie. All right, everyone, have a great day, whether you're online or off. All right, bye.